Okay, so today we will learn how to create materials like this, which is just a simple rectangular cube, but in the materials, instead of a color, we've attached a texture file. In 3D modeling world, texture means photo. In our real world, texture means how something feels, and that is actually called shading in the modeling world. So it's a bit different. So whenever you hear me say texture, it actually just means photo in the 3D modeling world. So instead of a solid color, if we go to shading, you can see that the base color is connected to a photo file. All the rest of the settings here, it's the same as you see in the material properties. When you make the glass, you turn down the roughness, up the transmission. You can do the same over here. This is just a graph that breaks it down, that you can do a lot more things to the material. We'll learn about that in another tutorial. So for now, when you open the scantheworldproject.dgs, you will see a Vitasoy zip folder. You download that. Inside that, you will see two files. One is the already completed milk box, which is this one for your reference. The other is a texture file that's like this, which we will use later. So in your start a new Blender file, you usually see the camera, the cube, and the light. We'll just click A to select all, and we'll just press X to delete all of them. And now we will Shift A to add a cube. So that's Shift A, Mesh, and then the cube. This will be our milk box. You can scale it on the Z axis, make it taller, and then scale it on the Y. You don't have to be too accurate with the dimensions. As long as you do the UV map data correct, you can adjust it later, no matter how distorted it is. As long as you got the map data, you can adjust it later on when you're done. So don't worry too much about the dimensions now. We're here just to create the material. So select your cube and create a new material. I will call this Vita. I will just turn down the specular. And now we will go into shading. The shading tab at the top over here. This is what I showed you earlier. And to add something, the image texture on this side, you're just going to go Shift A, and you're going to search for image texture. If you type IM, the first one should be image texture. Then over here, you just drop it off somewhere close by. Connect the color node, which is the yellow circle, to the base color. And now you're going to open the texture file that you downloaded from the website. So you click open, and it'll pop up a box, and you just select the image that you downloaded. Once you've selected the image, you can see that something appears, but it appears at the wrong location. So that's what UV mapping is about. You're trying to create a map to tell Blender where to get the texture data from for each phase. So to do that, you go into UV editing, the tab up top, and you can see that these squares on the left are not aligned properly to the respective faces. So what we can do with the cursor on the right side, you can press Z and you can go into material preview. In the new Blender, for some reason, these icons on the top right are hidden when you drag this window into the center. So the shortcut there is a Z. I'm not sure if I could screencast this. Oh, I can. Okay, so shortcut Z, and then 2 is the material preview. Or if you don't like shortcuts, you can drag this middle column to the side, and you can select it over here on the top right. So when you're here, you can press the selection mode to face, or using 3, and then now you're selecting faces. I'm gonna use this as the front of the milk box. So when I go over to the left hand side and press G and move this, you can see that it's getting the texture data from the left, from the image, but you can see that it's rotated. So you could either go here on the left side and rotate it. I'd say that's, is it 90 degrees? Nope. Rotate, you can go 270 or minus 90. So minus 90, and then you move these vertices. So over here, you select the vertices on the top left. That way you can select these ones and just move them where you need them to be, something like that. So this is a more a longer way how I like to do it. I'm going to show you, let's say on the back. To view something from the front, we use numpad 1. Oh, actually, this is actually on the left. Okay, so 3 is the right side, and if you control 3, numpad 3, that's the back. So what I mean is, numpad 7 is the top. If you use control with the same number, it's the opposite. So top and then bottom. Numpad 3 is the right side. Control numpad 3 is the left side. Over here, with this face selected, I know I want this face to be over here, but without even having to rotate it, I can select the face. So on the right side, you press U, and you can say project from view, this one. This will take the shape with this view and just project it over here. So now when I move it, it should line up nicely. I don't have to rotate it. And then I'll just put it somewhere in the center, and then I will scale. So remember, you grab that UV island, you press G to move it, and then you can scale it. So I need it a bit taller, so I'll just scale on the Y axis. Remember, this is a 2D environment on the left side, so there is no Z axis. On this side, there is because it's a 3D space. Okay, so now I got the front and the back, and then I'll do this side. And of course, since I disorientated myself, this is actually the front in my model. So with that, select the face, U, and project from view, and then it appears on the left side. And I just G, and I'll just grab it and I'll put it somewhere here, and I'll scale it down. If you want to be really precise to get all the corners, you can select vertex mode, or you can press the number 1. Remember, the same thing applies here. 2 is the edge, 3 is the whole face. Okay, if you just press 1, you will select a vertex and you just move it to the corner. Just like that. Then you can make it really, really precise. Remember, you can also hold shift to make your control adjustment more fine. Okay, I'm not going to do a perfect job here. I'm just going to roughly align it. Okay, so top view, U, and project from view. From here, I'll move this here, and I'll just scale it somewhere like that. Okay, that's good enough. I'm not going to do the bottom. You guys can do that. With this done, you can go back into layout and then go to material preview mode, and then that's it. This is now done. So that is UV unwrapping for a simple box. To explain a bit more about what UV unwrapping is, I'm going to use this teddy bear as an example. So obviously this teddy bear is a 3D object, but to create this teddy bear, you create it from fabric that is almost 2D. That's a flat piece of material. So on the right here, you can see that this is the head, and it tells you to cut 1 pair. 1 for the left side, which is the right side of the teddy bear's face, and then 1 for the left side of the teddy bear's face. And then at the top, which is sort of the forehead to the nose bridge, you rely on this extra piece. So with these three pieces sewn together and stuffed with cotton, you create a 3D object. Very much like UV unwrapping. So for a box, it's much easier to understand because it's flat surfaces. But when you go into complex objects like this, it's the same thing. So you may be able to see these red lines. So I'm going to turn off X-ray. So you can see these red lines. It's sort of like each individual islands like that, and here and there, or the right side of the dragon's face. So this is UV unwrapping, but in a more complex mode. It's the same thing. Once you've unwrapped it, you align where these faces get their data from. So this face gets its data from over here, like that. And you create these texture files either through Blender baking, or when you do 3D scans, or you can create them with Photoshop or whatever photo editing software you use. And the source of the photo could be from the internet or from your cell phone or your camera. So that's the basic of UV unwrapping. When you're done, you can of course save your file, and you can also export into GLB, and that way you can put it onto the P3D AR platform or your PowerPoint presentation, and that's one way to create another 3D asset. Thank you.